Ça devrait le faire. 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Et non, et non. Et non, et non, et non. Et oui, et oui, et oui. Test, ouais, ça fonctionne. Et ça aussi, nickel. Je suis radie. Alors, message à petit Faily. Je suis radie. Et bonjour. Ah non, on fait pas ça.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Ceci est l'histoire d'un homme nommé Stanley. Okay.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk.
Il était
telling him
super
what
un écran
buttons
sur
to
lui en lisant
push,
quelques boutons.
how long to push them,
dans quel ordre.
and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day,
chaque jour de chaque
every
mois.
month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly
sur mesure pour ce travail. Ok.
Stanley was happy.
Ok. Et je
And
fous
then
le
one
bordel.
day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company
Il était
had
venu de
this
travailler un
happened.
dimanche ou quoi?
This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time.
Je sais pas,
But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok. Et c'est à moi. J'en ai aucune idée, tiens, c'est Faily qui me l'a conseillé. Il m'a dit de pas me renseigner, donc je me suis pas renseignée. Et j'avais déjà entendu ce nom autrement. Il y a longtemps. Mais je crois que ça me dit rien. Ok, déjà, on va régler les touches. Options, clavier souris. Oui, effectivement, c'est mieux. J'ai même pas osé regarder les touches pour pas voir ce qui est faisable. Des fois, tu sais, ça te dit des trucs, des indices. J'ai pas regardé. On verra. Peut-être que je peux regarder un peu. Oh, j'adore le bruit que ça fait. Duck? Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire, duck? Accroupi? Action. Use item. Ok. Screenshot. Ok. Oh, j'adore. C'est super agréable, je trouve. C'est ASMR. Ah, ok. Donc. Pourquoi il va si vite que ça, mon bonhomme? Il sait pas marcher? C'est stressant qu'il sache pas marcher.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Bah, qu'on
Stanley
est
decided to
dimanche.
go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Donc, il décide d'aller à la salle de réunion. Bah, ouais, d'accord.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Y a personne. Eh oh, les copains. Je sais pas où c'est, moi, la salle de réunion.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Il traverse la salle de gauche. On va obéir alors, hein.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Pourquoi il est mort, Franz? RIP. Groupe 427. Moi, je dois être là. Donc, je décide d'aller au bureau de mon patron. C'est pas là.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
D'accord, ok.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Mon patron, il doit être au dernier étage, parce que c'est le patron. Ah ouais, ça se voit. Wow, c'est cool chez le patron. Putain, sympa. Bon, déjà, sa secrétaire, elle est pas là, c'est pas normal. Oh God. Oh! T'imagines des plafonds comme ça? Chauffer cette pièce, c'est impossible. Il doit cailler dans ce bureau.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. "2845.
Oui, ben j'ai compris, mais t'as dit qu'il avait pas moyen de le savoir, alors faut savoir, hein. Tu me dis que... Tu me dis qu'il sait pas. Moi, je cherche où c'est qu'il peut savoir.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Oh. What the fuck? Ouais, mais du coup, j'ai pas essayé le 2, 8, 4, 5. Oh, ça donne envie d'essayer quand même. Je peux toujours. Oh, j'ai fait une erreur. J'ai triché. Bon. Ça a pas changé grand-chose à ma vie. C'est pas RP, c'est clair.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Pourquoi j'ai été aussi...
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Et si
Although
j'écoute
this
pas...
passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Ah, tu m'énerves, t'es en train de me manipuler, petite voix. J'aime pas ça. C'est moi qui commande. Ce serait quoi comme mort violente? On sait pas, hein. Les
The
bâtards.
door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Mais arrête de me manipuler le cerveau.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Le bâtard. Je sais pas quoi faire. C'est bon, j'ai peur. Non, mais c'est pas toi qui vas commander. Hein.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs
Non,
from a blind man.
non, je dois pouvoir...
So he resigned and willingly accepted this triumphant end to his brief and shallow life.
Non!
Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Oh, c'est trop bien pensé. Tu passes de un jeu vidéo, là, non, à un menu. Trop bien.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ah, c'est le chemin que j'ai fait. Le bureau de mes collègues, nanani nanana. Les bureaux, nana, les portes qui sont fermées. J'ai dû choisir de prendre à droite ou à gauche. Ok, j'ai pris à gauche. Ok. Les ordinateurs qui étaient allumés des autres gens, c'était ça. Ok. Mais je suis en train de me spoil le jeu là, non? J'ai l'impression que tout ça, je vais le rencontrer dans le jeu. Et que j'ai raté un truc. Oh. C'est stressant. C'est stressant ce jeu. En même temps, je suis curieuse et en même temps, je veux pas savoir. Je veux jouer. Ah.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time choose.
Tu sais que c'est un jeu qui va me confronter à un truc que j'aime pas du tout, c'est faire des choix. C'est tout noir. Rendez-moi la lumière. Tu crois? C'est tout noir, il se passe rien. Tu crois que je suis morte? Je pense qu'il me teste. Je vais attendre un peu. Bon, je crois que je suis morte. Comme hier. J'ai fait boum. Ok, je dois faire recommencer à nouveau. Allez! Ok.
All of
Maintenant,
his
je sais qu'il
co-workers
n'y a
were
rien.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Comment ça pour elle? C'est qui elle?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Qui t'a attendu? Ah, il fait tout noir. Je veux pas y aller. Ah.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly...
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad
C'est
story
clair?
about the death of a man named Stanley.
Bonjour, employé 427. Veuillez appuyer sur H sur votre clavier.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Ben, je peux pas regarder la télé. Je m'en branle de la télé. Le bâtard. Pourquoi ça marche pas?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
J'ai appuyé sur 9 pour passer du temps avec les enfants. Non, merci. Je peux pas.
So he
J'ai
went
essayé
further.
d'appuyer.
He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Tiens, il est traumatisé. Tiens, il faudrait que je fasse un jeu comme ça. Tu devrais pas le regarder, tu devrais le faire. Ah, c'est horrible. Il met à mal ma patience, c'est horrible. C'est horrible parce que là, j'appuie pas parce qu'il m'a dit de pas appuyer. Donc, je le fais pas. Mais du coup, il y a le temps qui passe et plus le temps passe, plus j'ai envie d'appuyer parce qu'il se passe rien et que du coup, je suis pas patiente. J'aime pas quand il se passe rien. C'est ignoble. C'est une torture cérébrale. Oh my god. M'en fous, hein. J'appuierai pas, jamais. C'est moi qui décide. Avec l'horloge, là, le tic-tac, pour bien annoncer le temps qui passe. Mais oui, ça me troll. Bien sûr que ça me troll. C'est un jeu basé là-dessus, tu vois. Mais me dis pas, me spoile pas des trucs, hein, par contre. Mais oui, je vois bien qu'il est en train de me troller. Là, ça, c'est le fuck troll, ça. Et le pire, c'est que, comme tous les humains du monde, je dois faire exactement la même chose. Croire que t'as le contrôle sur un truc où, ben non, t'as pas le contrôle, en fait. Qui dit que ça fait pas exactement pareil quand j'appuie ou quand j'appuie pas, tu vois? Non, puis j'ai pas envie d'aller au travail le matin, quoi. Mon travail, il est nul. J'appuie pas sur 3. En même temps, je suis enfermée dans une pièce, hein. Je vais bien être obligée de faire quelque chose. J'ai pas d'autre possibilité. J'ai appuyé sur tout sauf sur 3, ça marche pas. C'est bon,
You see?
j'appuie.
Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Veuillez mourir.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? and everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Pourquoi il n'y a pas de 423?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ça va, j'ai fait tout ce que tu veux. Pas de problème.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's
trop bien.
co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Je suis là-bas. C'est mon bureau.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
J'ai tout fait comme il a dit.
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Oui, mais j'ai choisi de faire ce qu'il a dit.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
D'accord.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Il y a combien de milliards de chemins? La musique d'ascenseur, énorme. Ça me rend folle. C'est un fake ascenseur en fait. Mais c'est clair. C'est juste une pièce vibrante. Peut-être c'est pour les fantasmes, mais c'est pas mal comme délire. De mettre un fake ascenseur chez toi, tu vois. Pour les fantasmes dans l'ascenseur. C'est le patron, il a des délires chelous. Il aime se branler dans les ascenseurs. Bon. Et il tue des pandas. Ok, ok. J'imagine que je ne peux plus fuir ma destinée. Mais oui, voilà, voilà. Le chemin est tracé.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, it had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, nearly impossible to guess blindly, ever. Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct combination. If he knew that the combo was 2845, it would be another story entirely. But no, this is what he was going to do instead. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Two, 8, 4, 5. But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
Donc ça,
Control
on a déjà
Facility.
testé. Ça, on a testé aussi, mais pas tout. Bla 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 bla. Là, on n'avait pas le choix. Là, on n'a pas le choix. Tac.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Oh, il n'y a pas le bouton 4. Ah si. Non? Oh, les enfoirés. Oh, les enfoirés, ils énervent mes tocs, là. Je voulais appuyer sur les boutons dans l'ordre. Où il est, le bouton 4? Oh, il est là-haut, j'ai trouvé. Ça m'énerve de savoir que quelqu'un a réfléchi à ça et savait que je ferais ça. Et que ça servira à rien, je le sais, puisque je les ai vus, les boutons dans le musée, et que c'est de la merde. C'est des fake boutons. Putain. Donc là, mon seul choix possible, c'est d'appuyer sur On.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after. Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
C'est revenu presque à la normale.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
On va tout visiter. À plus dans le bus
But
des bisous.
Stanley didn't
Val.
want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here, it's, left. Oh, no. No, it's to the right. My mistake. No, 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 not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way. No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Il n'y a pas de fin possible en fait, c'est toujours boum. Quoi qu'il arrive, c'est boum.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Bla bla bla
What
bla
could it
bla
mean?
bla.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Je teste
memo.
une dernière fois, après je vais m'habiller pour aller en course. Je suis bloquée dans un jeu, c'est chiant.
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Or did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Évidemment que je veux aller là où c'est bloqué.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Je sais plus comment je m'appelle. Ma petite voix. Ah, c'est bon pour la gendarmerie, c'est good. On va pouvoir démarrer la formation.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah oui, j'allais dire, mais... Baptiste, tu changes de métier comme de chemise, hein. Un jour c'est médecin, le lendemain c'est gendarme, maintenant c'est informaticien. Oh, oh. Je m'y perds, moi, hein, dans ces histoires. T'es comme Stanley Parable, hein.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
Sale con.
Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Non, non, ça ne t'était pas destiné, c'était destiné au jeu. Oui, on doit aller en course. Oui. J'ai l'inspecteur de la vie qui est là. J'ai ma voix de la vie réelle. J'ai vénère le narrateur. Oh, il m'a mis une ligne jaune. Et c'est une fin de stream, il dit. Tu veux dire? Viens dire. Viens dire, c'est une fin de stream. T'es pas maquillée. Attends, je suis la ligne jaune.
I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure
Comme
Line.
ça, on se perd plus.
Just follow the
une bonne
line.
idée que t'as
How
eue.
simple is that? You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Tu finis ce jeu, t'es vraiment fou. Tu finis ce jeu, tu ne finis pas d'ailleurs, tu restes bloqué ici à tout jamais. Tout stable.
Cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Elle est cassée la ligne. Je me suis trompée. J'ai suivi la ligne, je m'étais pas trompée. Il n'y avait pas plusieurs chemins tout à l'heure. Il n'y en avait que un. C'était celui-là. Fuck alors.
Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Restart.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting,
Bonne idée.
daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ben oui, pourquoi pas? Allons-y.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new
Ouais.
story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Vas-y, emmène-moi à la plage.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Ouais, je dois aller en course. Avant que le monde envahisse les magasins, il faut vraiment que je m'habille et que j'aille en course.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Ben non, moi j'ai l'esprit de contradiction, je veux la gauche. Bon, d'accord.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now,
Après très
according to the
longtemps,
schedule,
ok,
I
je
restart
meurs.
again. Then what?
8e
Am I
restart.
just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime... All of his
Je sais pas
co-workers were
combien
gone.
on est de
What
restart.
could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alors, à gauche, j'ai... À droite, je vais aller dans des bureaux. J'ai une pièce bleue que j'ai déjà visitée. Ah, j'ai encore un endroit à voir à droite.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ça, c'est fait déjà. Et ça, ok.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Ta gueule, connard. Bon, je m'arrête là. On peut faire ça? Ouais. Retourner au menu. Comment ça me met commencer le jeu et continuer? Bon, faut que j'aille en course. Faudra que je comprenne un truc. Des bisous, c'est une fin de stream. J'espère que tu t'es bien marré, Feili. J'espère que ça valait le coup. Je sais pas si ça m'a plu, c'est perturbant. On en reparlera et je vais... on en reparlera. Hop. Mais je dois y aller là, vraiment, parce que je vais me faire gronder à un moment donné. Après, je suis punie, je vais au coin, tout ça, tout ça. Tchou tchou.